Morning. It is Wednesday. Uh, it's and it's early. Don't even need to see this darkened room to know that I can't. I'm less coherent than usual. So there's your magic hint. Um, uh, the thing I wanted to do was talk about my thought process a little bit. I mean, something that influences me to the random shit that comes out of my mouth for extended intervals. One of the things I wanted to talk about was Rene Magritte. Uh, so yeah, I've done some movie reviews and I have some thoughts on this, that, and the other. So let's talk about a Belgian surrealist. Yeah. So Rene Magritte was a Belgian surrealist. He started out as an impressionist and moved into futurism and cubism and others. He's mostly known for taking ordinary objects and putting them in an odd context. Also for being unusually thoughtful, thought-provoking, witty, clever guys. Shit's real clever. Particularly, I want to focus on what was it called? The treachery of images. He does this one thing called the treachery of images. It's let me see if I can find a picture of this damn thing. It's a picture of a pipe with the words in French under it. My French. It's "Ceci n'est pas une pipe." This is not a pipe. So it's a picture of a pipe with the words underneath it. This is not a pipe. And he actually got some flack for it. Like he was interviewed about it later on down the line, and someone's like, someone else said some. I can only imagine the art world in the turn of the century, early 20th century, that someone's like, hey, Rene, someone's saying shit about your pipe. you know? And that's kind of what happened. And Rene Magritte's comment was, that fucking pipe, It's like, I always get shit about that. Because it's like, it's stupid. It says it's not a pipe, but it's a pipe. And his response, I thought, was so cool, because it's like, of course, it's not a pipe. It's a picture of a pipe. Right? His actual thing was like, what, can I smoke it? Can I smoke that pipe? Can I put tobacco in it? Of course not. I'd be lying if I said it was a pipe. But what Magritte is commenting on is the sort of the natural human thing to confuse the image of a thing, the conceptualization of something, and the thing itself, confusing an image with reality. Which is just human nature. We conceptualize everything. It's how we communicate and think. I'm a human being. I'm not a robot. I can't do precise measurements of things and say, hey, this is a thing with these measurements and these colors and these textures and these materials. I just go, look, it's a fucking table. Table. My image in my head of that table is almost certainly wrong. It has all sorts of inaccuracies, but it is a good enough conceptualization that if I say, hey, there's a table in my room, there's a coffee table in my room, you wouldn't walk into my room and go, where's that? You'd see it. It's like, well, there's a coffee table. Without me describing it in great detail, you could go, oh, I know what a coffee table is. You know what a coffee table is. And our conceptualization of what coffee tables are in general are close enough I can figure out what you're talking about. And yes, there is actually a coffee table in my bedroom. Screw off, it's my bedroom. Coffee table in here. I drink a lot of coffee. There's a gift. Off base. But no, but why this informs? This informs because that's very interesting. The permutations of that statement. You know, people conceptualize shit a lot, but conceptualizations are not reality. Why, you might ask? It's a good question. Good on you. Because we often find ourselves in situations where debate, particularly politics or mostly politics, but other things too, moral ethics, and so on, where people have different ideas about what a particular thing is or should be, and the conflict will evolve from one, just misunderstanding. Let's get an example instead of just randomly talking about generalizations. I want to lead into this later on in another video, but let's talk about capitalism just briefly. When someone says capitalism, and this is going to be another video that I'm going to do because it really does warrant a long discussion. It's involved. But when someone says capitalism, or for that matter, anything, socialism, feminism, Black Lives Matter, Tea Party, something else, you get the idea. Any of these things, they automatically have an image in their mind of what that thing is. So people will debate it, but what one person imagines a thing to be is different than what another person imagines that to be. So there are all sorts of misunderstandings, like picking any one of those things, Tea Party. I know a little bit more about that than other stuff. The Tea Party has been accused of being very racist, being very conservative, very religious, and so on. It started as an organization. It really did, and this is debated, and that's silly because its entire history is online. You can just freaking look it up. It's just an organization that started really to protest high taxes. It's taxes. It's their thing is taxes are too high. They should be lower. We have shitty tax laws. We should be fiscally conservative. It's so simple. That is dirt freaking simple. That is so simple. Do I agree with the Tea Party? No, because it has other things attached to it too. They're much more socially conservative. Looking at them, it strikes me as an organization that is Republicans dissatisfied with the Republican Party. Good for them. They should be. The fact that there's an organization out there that's like, hey, the political party that our two choices, the one that we're closest to is shitty and not really following our own, the one thing we can agree on. And that's give them credit. The Tea Party's cool thing is that it's a lot of people with different views about different things, but they all are kind of in agreement on fiscal conservatism, watching your bank account on a federal scale, and kind of like holding their own party's feet to the fire. It's like, this is great. I don't agree with them. I'm not going to vote for any of their candidates, but that's a cool, if you're going to have a shitty two-party system, they should act more like that. I wish all Republicans acted like that. And I wish, and before Barack Obama got into office, I'd argue that the Democrats were kind of doing the same thing with the peace movement. Like, hey, you're supposed to be Democrats. Why are you constantly backing wars? What the fuck? You know, you're this. We have two parties. We already have a war party. Why are you also the war party? Now they've evaporated into thin air, and would the Tea Party do the same if Mitt Romney had won? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not, actually. But either way. But you get what I'm saying. Going back to my original point, is that, but if someone has the image of, so Tea Party really, really is just the pro-fiscal conservatism group. Done. But if someone gets, the arguments made, they were only opposing Obama because he's black or something like that, God, I could just rant on this for hours, and I'm trying not to. I really don't want to. It's early. Fuck, I really don't want to argue about shit at this hour. But if someone has the image in their mind, they've only heard about the Tea Party or let's keep it simple. They've only heard about the Tea Party from people who are in favor against fiscal conservatism. I've never had a really good term for what the opposite of fiscal conservatism is. Fiscal largesse or something like that? I don't know. If someone's only heard about them by people critical of that movement, and the criticisms were, racism. Okay, fine. Then you tell someone, hey, the Tea Party, and just insert that into a sentence immediately in their mind. Oh, racists, you mean? Because that's where their conceptualization is. So if me, using a specific example, am I talking about the Tea Party? Well, I've looked at them. I've looked at, there was like someone did a survey of like, do you identify as a Tea Party member? What do you think about these issues? And then I took the same quiz because it was interesting. I was like, what is the difference between me and a Tea Party member? As it turned out, shockingly, quite a lot. But, still, there's a few things we kind of agree on. Most things we don't. They're actually way more socially progressive than I am. But, that's, once again, whole another. We're talking about Rene Magritte, Belgian surrealists. Let's stick to the topic at hand. But you see what I'm saying. If you have a conceptualization about something, and I have the conceptualization about something that's significantly different than it, one possible point of contention is going to be, I'm saying one thing, but you're hearing something else. It's, in any political discussion, people are going to have lots of different images, ideas about different parties, even ones they like, about what they really mean. And that's one way confusion can kind of pop in, is you hear one thing, I hear something else. Okay. Belgian surrealists. Okay, Belgian surrealists. All right, so the other way that confusion can come in a discussion of any sort, politics in general is one specific example, but also wider, money, finances, philosophy, ethics, you name it, is confusing a word or an image with something that's real. I mean, forgetting that our conceptualization of something isn't a real thing. I mean, when I say, what did I use as an example earlier? What the hell? Oh, I'm keeping that in. Batman villain, 60s Batman. My cat just He's playing with cables under the desk. What did I use as an example earlier? Tea Party. Okay, so if someone's discussing the Tea Party, they might reasonably come to the mistaken conclusion that the Tea Party is a real thing, that it's like that it's an objective reality. Emerson, quit playing with cables. Bad cat. Bad cat. And it's not. I'm so keeping all that in. It's not. It's just a way of thinking about something. Is someone a Tea Party member if they're kind of like, I sort of agree with some of the stuff they have to say? Am I a Tea Party member? No, because I don't identify as such. But someone else would say, well, you just said that their whole thing is fiscal conservatism. You believe in that, maybe not the same way, but with a similar viewpoint. Doesn't that ipso facto? It's like, and my cat says yes, but he's wrong. Sorry, it's under my desk. But no, it's just self-identification. Do you see yourself as this, that, or the other? And that's purely in the realm of the mind. It's subject to change instantly, constantly. Things are constantly being reevaluated. If the Tea Party does some big rally or some big hullabaloo or bullshit happens, people would start associating that thing with them. Likewise, not to pick on them, so let's pick on someone else. Black Lives Matter. Theoretically, theoretically this is a good movement. It's Black lives do matter. All lives matter, but Black lives matter too. And why not? If you believe that there is something that can be done that will specifically help one group, and the whole point of this was to draw attention to the fact that cops are killing black people when they shouldn't be. They absolutely shouldn't be. I think that's debatable, but I can't argue with conceptualizing things that way. I mean, you think that can help, that's one way we might, save people's lives, then God, yes, go pursue that. You should. I mean, that's a laudable goal. You might be wrong, and I think they might be. I mean, I think the prejudice that's leading cops to shoot people is less of a black thing and more of a poverty thing. And statistics kind of back me, not them, but I don't know everything by any means. I'm not omniscient, neither are they, but whatever. All things being equal, pursue your own star. Whatever. So easy to get off track. My point is, okay, that's their shtick, is cops killing people, black people particularly, bad thing. Agreed? Yes. Easy. But Black Lives Matter's done other things. They've blocked traffic. They've had a protest, a couple protests actually at this point, where they're saying, hey, what do we want? Dead cops. Well, even if most of your members, or even people who just associate themselves broadly with your movement, have a laudable goal of saving people's lives, if you have a big visual demonstration of, yeah, we want people murdered, people are going to start associating that in their minds, because it's how humans are. We can't contain that much data every single statement. Everything we say, every word coming out of my mouth right now is a very broad, terse generalization. So when Black Lives Matter is a new concept. It's a new specific thing. when things like that happen and the movement in general doesn't disavow them, then that's part of the conceptualization. People now think of that as now a violent movement, and I don't think that's what a lot of people, hope not, a lot of people who associate themselves with it want to have that association, but there it is. So once again, Tea Party, Black Lives Matter, someone says one thing, but you hear something else because of associations that you've been familiar with, perhaps for watching the news, that that other person didn't. So you have a different image of your mind, in your mind, about what the thing that has been said is than the person saying them. We say the same words, but the words mean something different to you than to me, and that could lead to potentially a lot of misunderstanding. Ugh. Ugh. And not to pick on, like I said, I've been repeating this, but just it's worth repeating again, I guess. Not to pick on these groups, it's just they're just good examples because they're, one was hugely in the media a lot recently, the other much more recently. But Philip Magritte's idea, I called him Philip Magritte, his name's Rene. Both French sounding names to me from a Belgian guy. My point is, his idea of, hey, it's a simple idea. Don't confuse an image of a thing with the thing itself. Whether it's through mostly words. His idea was images like this is a picture of a pipe, not a pipe. And the fact that, and that was, God, it's so brilliant because it's like most people are never going to get that unless you kind of point it out to them. Like, what do you mean it's not a pipe? That is a pipe, isn't it? No, it's not a pipe. It's a picture of a pipe. No, that's not a. I mean, when we say name any way you group people together, sexuality, that's a straight guy, that's a lesbian, that's or a political affiliation, that's a Republican, that's a Democrat, that's a Green Party guy, the religion, that's a Catholic, that's some other religion, whatever. It's easy to fall into the darkness of my room. It's easy to fall into the trap of forgetting that none of those things I just mentioned are real. None of them, not a single one of them, are real. Those are just ways of thinking about other things more broadly. So that the human mind, which has limits to how many things it can contain at any moment, while your mind is very large, your consciousness, the active part of your thought process that you're most aware of, the front of your mind, if you will, can only hold a certain number of ideas. I mean, I can't sit here and name every gamer on Earth, or even all the ones I talk to directly, like I gaming on Fridays. So I just say gamers. But the concept gamers isn't real. It's just me, sort of bunching people together in my head so I only have one thing to think about, not how many people are gaming on Friday, like 7, 8. Like, I don't even know. And they show up every Friday, so you see why that's there. Likewise, it's like I don't want to have to explain or can't properly articulate someone's sexuality and how it relates to other things, so I'm just going to say that person's bisexual. Realistically, all of those things I mentioned, sexuality, religion, philosophy, political thought, our opinions about things, they'll change over time. Our biology changes over time. Our opinions change over time. Thank fucking God. I mean, do you really want to be the person you were in high school? No. You're smarter than that now. Unless you're currently in high school, and then, hey, good news. You're going to be smarter than you are now. You're going to know more You're going to learn new things. You're going to try new things. You'll evolve as a person, as all of us should constantly, and are, whether we're aware of it or not. So, God, I guess my point is, don't confuse a picture or a word with a person. Only people are real. Like I am a person. I am me. I am a guy. I'm an actual flesh and blood, wearing way too much dark clothing with, I think, looking at it, kind of messed up glasses, with really awful hair that's always like a mess during these videos because I just stepped out of the shower like 20 minutes ago. I'm a real person. Put me in a category. God, what categories do I even fit in? Whatever. Gamer. There we go. It's simple. But gamer is a concept. It's a grouping. It's a category. That's not a real thing. Don't confuse someone's sexuality with the person itself, or a religion for the individuals who subscribe to it. It's just an important thing to be aware of, I think. I mean, people change, but concepts don't. Or when they do, the two don't reflect each other. I can change, and gaming can change, but that doesn't mean we're going to change in the same way. Likewise, anything I just named, religion, philosophy, anything. Politics, oh my God, dear God, the way in the last century, in the 20th century, how Democrats changed, or the way people thought about Catholicism is a good example too. Catholicism at the beginning of the 20th century versus Catholicism today, or even in 1916 versus 2016. Huge differences. I don't think a Catholic from the early 20th century would recognize, like, hey, they're not talking in Latin and the priest is looking at us. What the fuck religion is this? Orthodox Catholic wouldn't recognize a century different, 4 generations different, wouldn't recognize it. And if something as kind of socially obtuse as a religion, which does have reasons to prescribes to particular methodology, religious ceremony, of course. I mean, something as potentially static as that can change so radically. Think about all these other things. I mean, the way we look at people, the way we look at sex and sexuality these days versus, just a few generations ago. But don't confuse the concept of a person, like the category you put them into. They're just labels, someone can identify as straight, but like, hey, Brad Pitt's really hot, and yet I'm really straight. Why is how do I, someone's like, people are different, and their ideas change over time. The conceptualizations, the labels you apply are static and always insufficient. They're important because that's how we communicate, but they have limitations. Don't confuse the two, is the lesson of Rene Magritte. I think that's a cool lesson. Be aware of it. Then look him up. He's a cool guy. He's done a lot of amazing art. I think he died in the 1960s. God, my history's abysmal. I think he was born in the 1890s-ish, sort of, maybe. Look him up. He's a cool guy. That's it. I'm out.